Slightly changing gears again, you've been in business a long time. You will have certainly learned a few lessons and probably made your fair share of mistakes. What's your sort of most memorable, or where did you learn the most?
Yeah, I've made more than my fair share of mistakes, I reckon. I looked up my diary the other day and saw that in 2012 I set up a Bitcoin mining rig over Christmas holidays and got right into the Bitcoin thing and managed to not invest at all. Never mined a Bitcoin, never stuck at it long enough, never invested in Bitcoin. Should have done that. That's probably a multi-million-dollar mistake. Met the founder of Afterpay when his shares were a couple of bucks. And didn't invest either. Was super impressed with the fellow, but didn't invest. So tons of mistakes like that. I've got thousands to choose from. I reckon the one that really kind of opened my eyes the most was about 2004. We were 5 years old, probably a bit older, 6 or 7. And we'd gone through rapid growth. We were about 100 people and we were making good, solid profits every month. And she still works for us now. Carolyn came to me one day and said, "There's no money in the bank account." And I'm like, "Oh, well, there must be, because we're making $100,000 a month profit," or whatever the case might be. And she said to me, "Well, there's not." And so I logged in and looked, and there wasn't. And we both went on this hunt to find, where's the cash? And we went. You go through the profit and loss. We looked here. We looked down the back of the couch. It wasn't there. And we eventually kind of found this thing called the balance sheet. And we found that our accounts payable and our accounts receivable were way out of whack, right? So we found the beauty of a cash flow statement. Neither of us had ever heard of one. And we found that, we had literally run out of cash. Our clients weren't paying us as quickly as they should. And so we went on the offensive and jumped on the phone, collected up as much cash as we could, and it was all good. But it gave me enough of a scare that it took a week or so to find out where all the cash actually was. So that weekend, I snuck into the office and I moved all of the pot plants. We'd rented all these wonderful pot plants, moved them into the fire stairs, and then called the guy on Monday morning and said, "We can't afford your pot plants anymore, mate. Come around and collect them." And it made me realise that if you've got to keep your eye on the fundamentals, right? So cash and cash flow, it's pretty fundamental. We didn't, and it almost bit us pretty hard. But it's not just that. It's right throughout the entire business. And I always find that if I ever am tempted to take my eye off the fundamentals, and I do for a period of time, they will generally turn around and bite me in some way.
So all the talk around automation and AI, really interesting. How does that affect the customer experience?
Yeah, so we measure customer experience in terms of NPS, which is a international standard for measuring that kind of experience. So our NPS today is 83. It generally sits around, it's in the 80s, 80, 81, and which is world class. So we do a lot of analysis on it. We care about it because we think it's a really good proxy for what our clients are experiencing. And what we see is even a ticket that's handled by like an automation and a voice AI combination, it gets a really high NPS because the client wanted really fast service, really efficiently, didn't necessarily want to talk to anyone. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, they just want to ring and get their account unlocked. Great. So we often get a 10 for that. And then the other kind of experience where the client wants to ring up, have a chat. What's the weather like today? I've got a few problems with my PC. There's 3 or 4 of them, and they kind of spend an hour on the phone with the service desk operator, also scores really highly. So clients really value the right kind of service at the right time. And the opportunity for us, I suppose, is to make sure that more clients are aware of what the service options are early in the engagement. So the client can pick, I want to go down this route. Today I feel like a chat. Today, the next day I just want to have my password reset. So yeah, I think that's the outcome as to how it impacts.
Okay, so where do you see Brennan IT in 5 years' time?
Yeah, good question. So it's really exciting times for us, actually. So we are currently the number 3 MSP, Aussie MSP, which is a great achievement. And when I started 24 years ago, you would have bowled me over with a feather if you had told me that would have been the outcome. Back then, we just wanted to be a credible, respected player in the market. And that happened, somewhere along the journey. And now we're one of the really big guys. We've got number 2 directly in our sights. I reckon they're kind of coming back to us. We're growing. So I reckon we'll take number 2 posse in the next year or so. But what we really need to do is double our business, double the number of people, the number of team members we've got, the number of clients. And we want, so we're already, quite a big 500 plus people, quite a large IT company in Australia. And we're big enough to be flexible, big enough to be, kind of solid and have invested in the right, technology and automation, small enough to be flexible and agile. And we want to take that forward into 1,000 staff and then 2,000 or 3,000 staff. What we see is the competitors that we have in the top end of town, and I won't name them, but they're big Japanese companies, big American companies, big South African companies. Their local division might be 5,000 employees, but they're a member of a 250,000 employee business. They are not flexible. They are not agile at all. They're not, they're the gorilla in the room when they're talking to most of their clients. Whereas, when we're operating at that enterprise level, many of our clients are larger than us. They're most certainly very important to us. We're still sophisticated and, solid partners for them, but we're agile and easy to do business with. And we're friendly and a lot nicer too. So that's the plan for us, is to really, grow significantly, but not lose that Aussie DNA and that, real flexibility and client centricity as well.
Yeah, I know one of your favourite slogans is "Beat the big guys."
Yeah.
And how do you think we're going on that front?
We are going really well. So we would like to be beating them more often, but we have run a couple of very much household names very recently that's significantly added to our business. And the NPS that we delivered after, we took over and addressed a lot of the service issues, is often in the mid 80s and in some cases in the high 80s, which really is unheard of. And it's probably a bit of a honeymoon period after, not getting the kind of service that they really wanted from the big guys. But, even big clients we've had for 2 or 3 years settle into that mid 80s NPS. And, I think it's the exact, service that they're looking for.
So you've recently appointed Brennan Cook to be the chairman of the advisory board. Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
He brings a really solid business understanding, very solid strategically, knows the markets out there, knows the customer base really, intimately as well. What he doesn't bring is the kind of legacy of the technology viewpoint. So he brings a fresh set of eyes. He often challenges me and us about, why do you do it that way? What's that customer experience like? One of the pieces of input he had for us was around major incidents and the way that we manage them. If when there's an Azure outage, for example, and he had some really good ideas as to novel and interesting ways that we could do like a video call, for example, that all of our clients could connect to, and we could literally face to face tell our clients what was going on, when to expect something to come up, what's the latest information. And that's something that I think an insider in the IT industry doesn't necessarily readily think about. We think about war rooms and voice bridges and, all of that sort of stuff. He's taken a really fresh approach to it. So, yeah, he brings a great viewpoint.
Some really good insights there, Dave. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a great pleasure, mate. Thanks.
Hope everyone enjoyed hearing from Dave as much as I did. Make sure you tune in next time.